Welcome to episode number 160. Today we're talking with Lindsay Dyer of LD Aviation. This is another one of our highlight episodes where we talk to real cool people in the aviation industry and find out what they're doing and how they're doing it, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. So this episode was brought to you by our Aviation Sales and Marketing Lab, where you get to meet really cool people like Lindsay, right?
Yes.
And we have networking opportunities. We have a private Facebook group. We have custom consulting in our office hours where you get to talk with us one-on-one about your situation and how we can help. We have a book club. We have SEO reports and other really cool tools that are too expensive for a lot of folks to do on their own, but as a group, we're able to leverage a lot of those things.
Yes, we are.
Because of the economies of scale. So it's a great way for a small company that maybe doesn't have a marketing department to get some really good information, right? Cool. So Lindsay, just to do a real quick introduction, she's been in aviation for quite some time, doing scheduling and dispatching for some really big companies. Mm-hmm. And she has taken a lot of what she's learned from those situations and is helping companies do this in a different way. So her business model is one of the coolest I've ever heard of.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And?
So let's go to the interview. All right. Well, Lindsay, it's great to have you on our podcast. You've been in our office hours for a while, and we've gotten to know you a little bit. So welcome.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Excellent. So tell us about LD Aviation. This is like one of the coolest business ideas I have ever heard.
Yeah, so LD Aviation came about when I was able to see a need for the smaller flight departments to get help with their scheduling and dispatching. So we help small to medium-sized flight departments take care of the tasks that are included in the scheduling and dispatching part. Okay, so there's so while many large companies have enough capital in their budget to hire a full-time person, our aim is to help out those flight departments that don't need a full-time person or don't have the capital to hire a full-time person.
When you say small, medium size, what size is that? How many aircraft?
Yeah, usually between 1 and 3 aircraft is a good fit for us. Once you hit past the 3 aircraft and you get into 4, usually you have a larger flight department and have enough need for a full-time person. Uh-huh. But if you have just 1 airplane and you might need help with your scheduling or, calling FBOs, shopping fuel, getting transportation set up, hotels, car rentals for the crew, catering, we can do all of that.
Wow.
We also help pick out the right airport. We can liaison between your admins and the crew, and we can have an entire trip set up and executed basically without having to bother the crew with many of the details. So essentially they can show up to the airplane the day that they have their trip, fly the trip, and all the details will have already been arranged.
So you can coordinate catering with the pilots and everything then?
We sure do. And we also check weather and we check NOTAMs. We're trying to catch any of those gotchas before the passengers show up to the airplane. That's the worst thing, is you show up to the airplane and you're ready for the trip and now you have to change it because maybe there's a runway that's closed. Or the airport is just not the right one. Maybe it's not the closest one to the location the passengers are going to. We check on all of that before the passengers even get to the airplane.
So traditionally,
we can run.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, so traditionally, in a lot of small organizations, all of this has fallen on the chief pilot or the pilot for the flight. And so they end up working a lot harder, not flying, when their time off is not really their time off, because they're doing all
exactly. So yeah, even if they're not flying, they are working. A lot of times they're talking to the admins, they're scheduling the airplane, they're talking to the FBOs, they're getting pullouts set up, they're getting fuel releases set up, and all of that cuts into their time off. And we're having a big problem keeping good pilots employed because, they can easily just go to the airlines where, again, they just show up and everything is done for them. So we aim to help ease some of that.
That's
we can, and we like it. I mean, I've been doing this for about 20 years now, and I enjoy doing the work. I love finding ways to make life easier for everybody and ways to save money.
Right.
We usually take a trip from the beginning when it is requested from the owner or the executive, and we'll schedule it. We will do all the catering, all the details. We will also put a package together before the crew leaves. So they have in hand paperwork that shows all the passengers' names. Then we watch the whole trip as it's executed. We're checking on transportation, making sure that is in place as necessary. And then when the airplane comes back, we help with the reporting of it. We have to make sure that everybody's the right the right passengers are on and charged the correct way. We also we can do the flight logs, and then we can report on everything at the end.
That's fantastic. John,
so
I know
the delineation between what you do and what the pilot does. I mean, you sound like you do an awful lot of stuff, and that's cool. When you pick out the closest airport to where the passengers are going, do you also look at it to make sure there's instrument approaches on it, as an example?
We sure do, yeah. We want to make sure that is exactly the way the crew wants it, and that's something that we set up in advance. We talk to the crew, and we say, well, what are your requirements? 5,000-foot runway? Is it 100 feet wide? What do you want us to have? And every time we choose an airport, we'll make sure it has those things, really according to whatever they want. Each flight department is different. Everybody's going to have different parameters, and we adjust to that.
That's really smart. John, I know you've talked to some companies that talk about retaining pilots. And the three things that pilots look for are money, schedule, and something else. I don't remember what the third thing is. But the schedule, this part, I think, this is one of the things that I think is really cool about what Lindsay does is lets their off time be their off time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So do you remember what that third thing was? But time off was a big deal to pilots, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pay.
Yeah, pay, time off, quality of life. Yeah, that's a big thing.
It is.
And if the less turnover you have in a flight department, of course, is going to make it feel more stable, especially to your passengers and owners as well. So we like to help with that. We also feel like sometimes or many times the chief pilot who might be doing these jobs could be doing or using their time doing a better or different project. Perhaps they have an SMS or an ERP that is not completed or not very good. If they could focus on those, although we can help with those as well, but if they can really focus on that because they have the extra time, because they don't have to call the FBO or track down the catering receipt or any of those kind of admin type details, then I think that just makes the flight department safer overall and better run. Right.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, I know you've helped a lot of people over a lot of time for different companies and things like that. Do any examples really stand out for you?
I think transportation is a giant issue. It's hard to get that right every single time. And I feel like the passengers, if they can have their pilot and crew fly through thunderstorms and across mountains and do like a big long cross country leg, but if when they get there to their destination and the car is not right, it feels like the whole trip is. So I think actually we had one today, and today was an example because we left, 30 minutes early or so, and the car wasn't in place, and it was only a 45-minute flight. So we had to kind of scramble to make sure that car got there earlier. But if you're the crew and you're doing all that, you're not only flying a short leg, which doesn't give you a lot of time to just hang out in the cockpit. You don't necessarily have time to call Carrie or whoever's transportation company it is and make sure that they get there on time. And that's where we come in. We call, we make sure that driver is there on time. And today they landed about 38 minutes early, and their driver was there. So
that's fantastic.
They didn't have any issues.
Yeah, it's so good to be early if if you can't do anything for 30 minutes.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, I feel like we help in other ways. Like sometimes we have had an international trip before that really had a lot of changes to it. And instead of it was nighttime over there in Europe when we got all the changes. And instead of having to keep the pilots and the crew up until really late at night, arranging all the extra details, we did that. So when they woke up the next morning, it was all set. Gen decks were already sent to the new airport. NOTAMs had been checked. Flight plans had been filed for the new times. All they really had to do is get up, gather their stuff and make sure they're at the airport at the right time. Passenger catering is all done. And so I hope that what we hope to do is to make their lives easier, which in turn we think makes, again, the flight department safer.
Right. The whole point, I think, of private aviation is convenience. So, if it's inconvenient to use your own plane and your own crew, or, if it's inconvenient to your crew, you're really not saving anything. You're actually making more headaches for yourself. So I can see how offloading some of that to you is going to really help simplify and help people get the most out of their flight department or their airplane.
Yeah. Yeah, which in turn will hopefully keep that flight department running.
Yeah.
None of us want to see any flight departments closing, and we see that periodically. And a lot of times it's because of bad management. And perhaps some of what we do could help streamline that, make it look to the passengers like everything is, rolling right along, and there aren't issues. So.
The old metaphor of, the duck sitting on the water, on the surface, everything looks calm, and under the surface, paddling like crazy. So you can reduce some of that paddling and help them look a little more serene, right?
Yes, right. Yep. And that's really the goal of it, is so that passenger has a good, solid, well-organized trip every single time.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. So one thing we ask everybody that comes on our podcast, what book or movie inspired you the most?
Yeah. Probably like many people, is that Top Gun movie. Of course, I grew up with that. I watched that probably 1 million times. And I hear the sequel is coming out next year.
Right. That's John's favorite too. As a pilot, that's fabulous.
Nice, right? Yeah. Yeah, I did. I watched that Top Gun film, and I have to say, I always thought that would be the awesomest job ever. But if I'm not mistaken, at my age, they were not accepting women as fighter pilots. I don't even honestly know if you can now, but I thought that would be the coolest job.
Right. There are some women fighter pilots, and they are badass. They're very, very cool. I'm not sure when that started, but it's amazing. So that's great.
Yeah.
What is your favorite airplane?
Okay, so favorite airplane. So if I was going to fly one myself, I think I would aim for a Pilatus. It feels like the Pilatus is really versatile, and I could probably stuff a bunch of my friends in and all their bags and their dogs, and I think I would enjoy that. I would love going on trips that way. As far as scheduling the airplane, I love the G650, of course. Super long range, easy to schedule. I can go in and out of a ton of different places. That's an awesome airplane to schedule.
That's fantastic. It does pretty much anything, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. I can do short hops with it. and it's beautiful airplane. Anyway, I mean, it's just
Yep.
spectacular to look at on the ramp. So,
And you'll always arrive looking fabulous.
yeah, right, which is very important at times, actually. At least to the passenger.
Right. Okay. So how can people who need help with their scheduling and dispatching, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we would love for you or anybody to check out our website, which is flightschedulingconcierge.com, or you can try ldaviation.net, and you can try my cell phone also. It's 404-775-6367, and you get me directly. That's another big thing I think that we might have lost is the customer service aspect of many businesses. And when you call, you're going to talk to me, and I do a lot of the work. Lori works with me, but we pride ourselves in answering the phone every single time, pretty much any time. And
that's huge because there's so many companies you call and you get a phone tree, and you're like, I need help right now, and I don't want to talk to this machine.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to get that with us. And we want to be part of the team. Like, we want to make your whole team look great. And we want to be a piece of that. We are not ever going to be, we don't want to be a giant company. We want to have the clients that we work with and serve them well every time.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks, Lindsay. We really appreciate you spending some time talking to us about a business that not many people know about. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So a couple of the takeaways that I got from that interview, and we're really happy that Lindsay took the time to spend some time with us. 3 takeaways are, first, do what you know. Exactly. And Lindsay's taking something that she is really, really good at and that a lot of people say that she's really, really good at. She's got a lot of great testimonials and things from people and is doing that now on her own instead of for other people, which is great. The second thing is to know your stuff. And, she's done public speaking at schedulers and dispatchers and other things that really show that. And one of the things that I really love about Lindsay is that she is fearless, right? And if you go to her website and go to the blog, you will see a video of her speaking at schedulers and dispatchers, telling the story about how she came up with this idea and put it together as a business, as opposed to doing what most people do, which is to get a job as a scheduler dispatcher for a large company, right? Okay. And then the third thing is to
recruit allies.
To recruit allies, exactly. What?
I said nothing.
To recruit allies, and there are people really pulling for Lindsay. If you look at the testimonials on her website, there are people who really want her to succeed, especially people that she has worked with and that are working with her business model. So she's doing a great job of making all that happen. So if you are looking for how to get hold of her one more time, flightschedulingconcierge.com is a website that we actually got to collaborate with Lindsay to put this together. It's really a fun website, and you'll find some really great resources on her blog about how to source fuel, how to find the best FBOs, and some other things that are really helpful to people in that line of work.
She actually does more as a schedule/dispatcher than people in large companies do.
Absolutely.
And you need to check it out.
Absolutely. Or you can call Lindsay at 404-775-6367.
And ask her what it is that she does that you could use.
Exactly, because there is something. Right. So this episode, once again, was brought to you by our Sales and Marketing Lab. And this is the best way for us to help some of the smaller companies that need marketing services. So kind of like Lindsay's business model, working for companies that maybe can't afford an entire scheduling department. We work with companies that maybe can't afford an entire marketing department and provide those large scale resources at a small scale price, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So if you would like to talk about your business model and how to get the word out about it, those kinds of things, there is a button on our website where you can schedule 30 minutes with us, and we'll sit down with you and talk about whether we might be a good fit for helping you get the word out about your company.
Absolutely.
All right. See you next week.